I want to encourage you to leave comments about what you want to see, discuss questions that you have about the team, about recruiting, about anything. You can leave them in the comments. You can leave them in the mentions on Twitter at That Show Out West, in the DMs on Twitter. Heck, you can even email thatshowoutwest@gmail.com. So, sometimes it's hard to get creative and do 1 or 2 shows a week coming up with 40 minutes of content. So, hey, having some help from the audience certainly helps. And I want to thank Big Duck Drew for helping out my content creative juices here today with the idea and a great question that he had, and it certainly deserves a segment here. He says, out of everyone on the team, including freshmen, whom do you think will be the highest NFL draft pick? Thank you, Drew, for the question. In order to answer that question, I think the first thing that we need to tackle is which positions are normally high valued and high drafted positions in the NFL draft. Of course, the most valuable position in the NFL is the quarterback position. Very quarterback driven league, certainly. Offensive tackles are usually, if you have a great offensive tackle, there's a high probability that those guys are going in the top 10 of the NFL draft. Defensive end, wide receiver, corner, all of those are related to the NFL being more of a passing game. I know the Philadelphia Eagles really bucked the trend with their physical approach this season in terms of that, but overall the NFL is very much a passing league. You need a great quarterback, you need great weapons to be able to throw the football to, you need someone to be able to protect your great quarterback, and on defense you need to get after the opposing great quarterbacks as well. Corners need to be able to cover the wide receivers that the quarterbacks are throwing the football to. You all get it, it's one big circle. Those are very high valued positions, I think, for NFL franchises and NFL teams right now. Now, I'm going to kind of eliminate some guys, but I want to talk about some contenders that I certainly thought of. When you look at defensive backs on this roster, Dylan Thieneman is a guy that a lot of people view as a future first-round NFL draft pick. He's already been a 2-time All-Big Ten performer at Purdue. He's great at visualizing where the ball is going and attacking the football in the run game, playing the deep third, plays the ball extremely well. Like, Dylan Thieneman could be overall the best football player on this 2025 Oregon team. But safety isn't a position that you'd certainly see a ton of drafted in like the top 15 or the top 10. And maybe the thing that's working against Dylan for the 26th draft is you got a guy by the name of Caleb Downs at Ohio State. I think that's above him as the number one safety in this draft. So I feel pretty good saying Dylan Thieneman can be a first-round NFL draft pick, but there's certainly some other guys on this list. I think that can be like a top 15, a top 10, or maybe even a top 5 overall pick. But I think Dylan Thieneman, great player, bright NFL future, no question about that. Also at the defensive back position, I love Naeem Offord. I think out of all these guys that have been brought in from a high school recruiting point of view the past couple of years, I think Naeem Offord has the highest ceiling, the highest all-conference, all-American, and thus NFL draft potential out of all of these guys. Like, I love the size and the length traits. That's been something Oregon has needed to get bigger. They've needed to get longer at these corner, nickel, safety type of positions. 6'1", 185 pounds. And I love the physicality that he plays with, whether it's in man-to-man press coverage or whether it's coming up and playing the run. I think NFL general managers love that physicality that you get from a corner like Naeem Offord. Now, I don't know how much he's going to play this season. I certainly think he's going to get on the field and get in the rotation, but I think he's going to have 2 really great years at Oregon. I think 26 and 27, you're going to see a lot of Naeem Offord in a green uniform. Kenyon Sadiq already has NFL scouts drooling, but tight end isn't necessarily a position that you see drafted in the top 10 of the draft. I feel confident that a great season this year could see him drafted in the first round or maybe early in the second round. People have been throwing out, hey, Kenyon Sadiq, 2026, you combine him with this guy and that guy. I don't know, man. I think this year might be it for Kenyon Sadiq. The way the smoke that's been coming out of him, coming off of Pro Day, and a lot of people wowed with what Kenyon can certainly do. And he's got, tight ends are a very valuable resource, I think, in the NFL, and I think he's going to be very valuable, no question about that. Pass rusher. Okay, now we're getting into that range where guys could go in the top 12 of the draft, where I could see these guys going in like the top 10 of the NFL draft. I think they've brought in some good defensive linemen. Elijah Rushing was a 5-star kid. Of course, Blake Purchase from a couple of years ago, I think is going to get more run certainly this year as well. But I think Mateo Uiagalelei has the chance to really work himself towards the top 10 in next year's NFL draft with another great season. He led the Big Ten in sacks with 10.5 sacks last season. And I think, man, you saw a big jump from year 1 to year 2, and I just put out a soundbite about this with Tosh Lupoi saying this same thing and really combined it with Tatum Tuioti. But talking about Mateo, I think the year 2 to year 3 jump, you're going to see him become one of college football's most feared pass rushers. I really do. He's not, when you talk a lot about his storylines, national guys quickly talking about Oregon, Mateo isn't really the number one guy that comes out of people's mouth, but I certainly think that he should be up there, and he's got the measurables that NFL teams love at the defensive end spot. 6'5", 270 pounds. He's got great moves and great agility to certainly get free as well. I think with another double-digit sack season, another all-conference, maybe all-American type of season, you could see him work his way towards a top 10 conversation, I think, when all is said and done. I think the top 2 NFL type of prospects and players on this team both share the same last name. Decorian Moore is the runner-up for me. He's the runner-up. He's getting compared to Jamar Chase already, and we haven't even seen him step onto a football field. He's in from Ryan Williams to Jeremiah Smith to Decorian Moore. He's in that next line of great wide receivers that I think are going to make an impact from the word go. And you got a guy throwing him the football that is certainly going to help you out a lot. Like, we know what the deal is with Decorian. He's already got that 4.4 speed coming out of Duncanville. He's got that very accurate and precise route running ability to get open as well. He's a very smart guy. We saw it in the Polynesian Bowl where he can go up and grab the football. I think Decorian Moore has the potential to be a top 5 pick. I think maybe 3 years of this guy, you ain't getting a 4th year Decorian Moore. Let me tell you that right now. 3 years of this guy, yeah, I think you could see a couple of 1,000-yard seasons. That great season that Troy Franklin had a couple of years back, Decorian maybe could put up a couple of those. I honestly, truly believe that. The most valuable position for NFL general managers and NFL football teams is the quarterback position. You asked a great question. I'm going to provide you what I think is a pretty darn good answer. I think Dante Moore is going to be the highest drafted player from this Oregon Ducks football team. He has an NFL body frame, he has an NFL release, and he has an NFL arm talent. He has all of those things that you look for from an NFL quarterback. 6'3", 210 pounds. He has a quick snap of the wrist, a quick release. When you kind of looked at Dylan Gabriel throwing the football, of course, he didn't have the height. I think it was like 5'11" or something like that. And that's something that NFL general managers really look at a lot. I remember when Russell Wilson came out after the great 2011 season at Wisconsin, where a lot of people, his height maybe bumped him down a little bit. We'll see if that happens with Dylan Gabriel. I think Drew Brees was another guy where his height maybe knocked him a little bit as far as his NFL prospects were go. Russell Wilson and Drew Brees had pretty darn good NFL careers, but that won't be an issue with Dante. And I think he's got a good amount of mobility, really his great ability to throw on the run as well. That goes with the arm talent and the arm strength certainly as well. And this is an Oregon offense that is going to bring the most out of Dante Moore. It is an extremely QB-friendly offense, whether it's with the weapons, the style of play, the play calling from Will Stein. I think NFL scouts, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, they are going to see everything that Dante Moore has to offer in the system, as opposed to maybe an offense like a Georgia or a Michigan we've seen recently with J.J. McCarthy, where we maybe didn't see everything that he has to offer. You're going to see that everything that Dante Moore has to offer, and then playing with some of these weapons, Evan Stewart, Kenyon Sadiq, Decorian Moore, and some of these other high-level players that are going to be coming in the future as well. Like, that's, I think, going to make Dante Moore look that much better. Arch Manning, maybe Nico Iamaleava are going to be possibly in that draft class as well, so he might have some competition. But when you have a talent as high as Dante Moore, and I personally believe he's got the highest ceiling, I think, maybe of any Oregon quarterback, not only in the Dan Lanning era, but in any era. Those are high expectations. Remember Marcus Mariota? Yeah, Heisman Trophy winner. I know that's a lot of hype, but I think you see bits and pieces of it during his UCLA film. You certainly see it when he played in the Detroit area during his high school film as well. I think everything's going to come together, and I think he's got the highest ceiling really of any player on this 2025 Oregon Ducks football team as far as being a high-level top 5 type of draft pick. Thank you for the question.